Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. This time we're going to be looking at some first day on the job horror stories. The kind of stuff that makes you really wonder if maybe you should have just called in sick that day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So the source material for this deep dive is going to be this YouTube video by Mr. Nightmare called 3 Scary True First Day on the Job Horror Stories.
Huh.
I don't know about you, but I'm already creeped out just thinking about it.
Well, let's see what we can unpack from these stories and maybe even learn a thing or two about staying safe out there.
Yeah, good point. Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly.
All right, so this first story is about a young but experienced direct care aide who's starting a new job, taking care of this 65-year-old woman named Martha who has dementia.
Okay. Sounds pretty standard so far.
Well, yeah, at first. But the aide's daughter, Colleen, who's the one who hired them, she warns them that Martha tends to wander around at night because of the dementia, but she insists that it's not sleepwalking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right away, there's this kind of unsettling feeling about the situation, you know?
Yeah, like a little bit of foreshadowing.
Totally. And it only gets weirder from there. As the night goes on, the aide starts to notice some really creepy behavior from Martha.
Yeah.
Like imagine you're trying to sleep and all of a sudden you hear the oven door slamming shut over and over again.
Oh, gosh, that's scary.
Yeah. And it's Martha just standing there in the dark, slamming the oven door with this blank stare.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
It just makes you think about all the challenges that caregivers face, especially when they're working alone at night.
Yeah, for sure. You're constantly having to be on alert and trying to figure out what's going on. And you're also dealing with your own fears and anxieties on top of it all.
It's a tough job.
It really is. And in this story, it gets even worse. So later that night, the aide wakes up and finds Martha standing in their room holding a kitchen knife.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, talk about a nightmare.
In that situation, you'd have to make a split-second decision whether to try to reason with Martha or just get out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think anyone would just run in that situation.
Yeah, it's like fight or flight, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the really unsettling part. After the aide manages to escape, they try to explain what happened to Colleen, but she doesn't believe them.
Really?
Yeah, she actually accuses the aide of making it all up.
Oh, wow.
Like she completely refuses to acknowledge that her own mother could be dangerous.
That's a huge red flag.
It really is. It makes you wonder about Colleen's awareness of her mother's condition and whether she's really capable of providing adequate care.
Yeah, is she in denial or just overwhelmed?
Maybe a little both.
It's hard to say.
And it leaves us with this lingering question of whether Martha's behavior that night was just a symptom of her dementia or if there was something more sinister going on.
It's a chilling thought.
It really is. Anyway, let's move on to the second story. This one follows a plumber on his first day on the job. And let me tell you, this is not your typical leaky faucet situation.
Oh.
It involves a creepy client, a super eerie atmosphere, and just a whole lot of red flags that would make anyone want to turn around and run.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So the story starts with this plumber showing up at this house for his first job. But when he gets there, the place looks completely abandoned. It's all run down and dilapidated, and there's this unsettling vibe about it.
I like where this is going.
But he's a new guy, and he wants to do a good job. So he knocks on the door, and this middle-aged man answers, and right away there's something off about him.
What do you mean?
Oh, he's got this disproportionately wide smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes, and his voice is really high-pitched and soft, almost childlike.
No, that's creepy.
Yeah, and then the plumber goes inside and realizes that the house is totally empty.
Empty.
Like there's no furniture, no personal belongings, nothing.
That's so weird.
And on top of that, he can't even find the leaky pipe that he was called to fix. The water isn't even running. So he asks the homeowner about it, and the guy says that he must have accidentally turned off the main water valve.
Oh.
But then he says that the valve is located upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yeah, which is super strange because most water valves are in the basement or utility areas, right? So the plumber's already feeling uneasy, and then he starts hearing footsteps moving around upstairs like there's someone else in the house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so at this point, his gut is telling him to get out of there. So he grabs his tools and makes up some excuse about needing to check his truck, and he basically runs out of the house.
Smart move.
Yeah, he tells his boss that it was just a prank call, but he knows deep down that something wasn't right, and he can't shake this creepy feeling, so he decides to do a little investigating. And guess what he finds out?
What?
The house is actually vacant. And the phone number that was used to call in the plumbing issue was fake.
So someone purposely lured him to that creepy, empty house.
Exactly. That's
Terrifying.
It really is. It makes you wonder what would have happened if he hadn't trusted his instincts and gotten out of there.
It doesn't bear thinking about.
I know, right?
It just goes to show that you can't always predict or control the situations you'll find yourself in, especially when you're working alone.
You're so right. And it's a good reminder that we should never take our safety for granted no matter what kind of job we do.
For sure.
So have you ever experienced anything at work that made you feel unsafe or uneasy?
I'm trying to think. Actually, yeah, now that you mention it, there was this one time when... Oh, wait, never mind. It's not really that interesting.
Okay, well, that's all right. But the point is that it's important to trust your instincts.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
if something feels off, it probably is. Don't be afraid to ask questions or request additional support or even to just remove yourself from a situation that feels unsafe.
I totally agree.
All right, so let's take a deep breath and move on to the final story of the day. This one takes place in the world of pizza delivery. And believe me, it's a doozy.
Okay, hit me with it.
So we've got this new Domino's delivery driver who's out on her first night with their manager and another trainee. They get sent out to this really remote area to deliver a pizza to this dilapidated old house.
Okay.
And as they're driving up to the place, they see a figure watching them from an upstairs window. Super creepy, right? It's like someone is watching their every move.
He definitely sets off some alarm bells.
For sure. And the feeling of unease just grows as they get closer to the house. An older man answers the door, but he only opens it a crack at first, like he's hesitant to show himself.
Oh, that's weird.
And then all of a sudden he gets super friendly, almost too friendly.
Like he's trying a little too hard to put them at ease.
Exactly. It's that classic feeling you get when someone's words don't match their body language.
Yeah, you just know something's not right.
Right. And then the homeowner steps away from the door for a minute to get money for the pizza, and the delivery team gets a glimpse inside the house. It's completely empty. There's nothing in there except for a few blankets scattered on the floor.
Oh, wow.
Like it's totally devoid of any signs of life.
That's so unsettling.
And just when they think it can't get any weirder, they hear footsteps coming from upstairs.
Oh, gosh.
And then their manager disappears around the back of the house to see what's going on. A moment later, they hear him scream. When he comes back, he's totally frantic, and he tells them to get in the car and leave immediately.
So what happened?
He says he saw a group of people gathered around a small campfire in the backyard. And in the middle of the fire was a baby deer.
What?
Like something straight out of a horror movie.
That's awful.
You know, right?
It's like they stumbled into some kind of cult ritual.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. And, not surprisingly, all 3 employees quit their jobs shortly after that.
I don't blame them.
It's a reminder that even something as simple as delivering a pizza can turn dangerous, especially if you're working late at night in a remote area.
It's true. You never know what you're going to encounter out there.
So what if they hadn't seen that figure in the window? Would they have just shrugged off all the other weird stuff and delivered the pizza?
It's hard to say.
Would they have become victims themselves?
It's possible.
It's just so scary to think about.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that we need to be aware of our surroundings and pay attention to those little cues that something might be off.
Yeah, like our intuition is often our best defense.
Exactly.
So we've talked about a knife-wielding dementia patient, a creepy homeowner in an empty house, and a possible cult ritual in the middle of nowhere. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little more cautious about my next pizza order.
Yeah, me too.
But seriously, these stories are a good reminder that even seemingly ordinary jobs can turn dangerous, and it's important to be prepared for anything.
Absolutely.
So what can we learn from these stories? What advice would you give to someone starting a new job or even just navigating their everyday life to stay safe and aware?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is the importance of awareness. Pay attention to your surroundings. Notice the details, the subtle cues, the things that might seem insignificant at first glance. Trust your gut feelings. If something feels wrong, it probably is.
Yeah, like that old saying, better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to be cautious, to ask questions, to err on the side of protecting yourself.
Your safety is paramount.
It really is.
And remember, you're not alone. If you ever find yourself in a situation that feels unsafe, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Talk to a trusted friend or family member, contact the authorities, or seek guidance from your employer.
There are resources available and people who care about your well-being.
Don't be afraid to use them.
That's such an important point. And these stories also highlight the importance of communication, both within the workplace and in our personal lives.
Yeah, if you see something that concerns you, speak up. If you feel unsafe, let someone know.
Open communication can help prevent potentially dangerous situations from escalating. It can also create a culture of safety and awareness where everyone feels empowered to speak up and prioritize their well-being.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that we can learn from each other's experiences. By sharing these stories, by discussing our concerns, and by supporting one another, we can create a safer and more informed world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into these first day on the job horror stories, we encourage you to reflect on these stories and consider how they might apply to your own life.
What resonated with you? What lessons can you take away? What steps can you take to enhance your own safety and awareness?
And remember, stay vigilant, trust your gut, and always prioritize your safety.
Until next time, stay curious, but stay aware.
See you next time.
Someone set a trap, basically.
Yeah, it's like, what were they planning? What would happen if he hadn't listened to that little voice in his head and just gotten out of there?
Seriously, it's a good thing he trusted his gut.
Totally.
It just makes you think about all the people who have jobs where they have to go into other people's homes or like work in unfamiliar places.
Oh yeah, for sure. Plumbers, delivery drivers, social workers, you name it.
And a lot of times they're working alone too, which makes them even more vulnerable.
Absolutely. It's a scary thought. So before we move on to the last story for today, I'm curious, what are your thoughts so far? Are you starting to look at your own workplace a little differently?
Well, I think what really gets to me is how these like seemingly normal jobs, caregiving, plumbing, they can turn scary or even dangerous so quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a reminder that you can't always predict what's going to happen. And sometimes you just have to trust your gut.
So true. Okay, well, let's move on to the final first day horror story.
Okay.
This one takes us into the world of pizza delivery. And this one is a real doozy.
All right, let's hear.
So it's about this new Domino's delivery driver who's out on their first night with their manager and another trainee. And they get sent out to deliver a pizza to this house way out in the middle of nowhere. But when they get there, the house is like super creepy. It's all run down and some of the windows are boarded up.
Like something out of a horror movie?
Right. And as they're pulling up to the house, they see someone watching them from one of the upstairs windows.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I know.
That's not a good sign.
Not at all. It's like someone is watching their every move, just waiting for them.
Definitely gives me the chills.
And then they get even closer to the house, and an older man answers the door. But he only opens it like a tiny bit at first, like he doesn't want him to see inside.
That's strange.
And then suddenly he's like super friendly and welcoming.
But like in a fake way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying too hard to act normal.
Yeah, like something's off.
And while he's getting the money for the pizza, they get a glimpse inside the house.
Yeah.
It's completely empty. There's absolutely nothing in there except for a few blankets on the floor.
Wow.
It's like a ghost town.
That's so creepy.
And then just when they think it can't get any weirder, they hear footsteps coming from upstairs.
Oh my gosh.
And then the manager's like, I'm going to go check this out. And he goes around to the back of the house.
Oh.
A few seconds later, they hear him scream.
Oh no.
When he comes back, he's like white as a sheet. And he tells them to get in the car and leave right now.
What did he see?
He said there was a group of people in the backyard gathered around a campfire. And in the middle of the fire was a baby deer.
Oh my God.
It sounds like some kind of ritualistic sacrifice or something.
That is so messed up.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. Anyway, all three of them quit their jobs right after that.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
It's like they accidentally stumbled into something that they were not supposed to see.
And it could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like what if they hadn't seen that person in the window?
Right.
What if they had just ignored all the weird stuff and delivered the pizza?
They might have ended up as part of that ritual.
It's terrifying to think about.
It really is.
But I think it's a good reminder that even a job like delivering pizzas can be dangerous, especially if you're working late at night in a remote area.
Yeah, you just never know what you're going to encounter.
So I guess the lesson here is that we should all be more aware of our surroundings
Absolutely.
and trust our instincts.
Always trust your gut.
Because sometimes that little voice in your head is trying to tell you something important.
Exactly.
Like, get out of there.
Yeah, or this is not right.
So what do you think are some other things people can do to stay safe when they're working? Especially if they're working alone or going into unfamiliar places?
It's so easy to just get caught up in the moment, Like you're excited about the new job or you're just so used to doing the same thing every day that you don't even think about the possibility of something bad happening.
Yeah, it's like we go into autopilot sometimes.
Exactly. But these stories are a good reminder that we should always be paying attention to our surroundings.
Absolutely. And to those like little gut feelings that we get.
Yeah, like sometimes you just get this feeling that something's not right. even if you can't explain why.
Totally. And I think that's our intuition trying to tell us something. Like, it's our subconscious mind picking up on subtle cues that our conscious mind might be missing.
And those cues can be anything from a weird vibe to someone's body language not matching their words.
Or even just a hesitation before you enter a certain situation.
Yeah, like a little voice in your head saying, wait a minute, something's not right here.
It's like our internal alarm system going off.
And it's important to listen to that alarm system.
For sure. Don't ignore those red flags. And I think it's also really important to have open communication with the people around us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, if you see something that concerns you at work, don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah, whether it's to your boss or a coworker or even just to a friend or family member.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Definitely. And I think it's also important to remember that we can learn from each other's experiences.
Absolutely.
Like by sharing these stories and talking about our concerns, we can help create a safer environment for everyone.
And that goes for both our personal lives and our workplaces,
It's all about creating a culture of safety and awareness.
where people feel empowered to speak up and prioritize their well-being.
Exactly.
So what are some things people can do to feel more safe and empowered in their everyday lives?
Well, for one thing, always be aware of your surroundings. Know where you are, who's around you, and what's going on.
Yeah, and trust your gut.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Don't be afraid to remove yourself from a situation that feels unsafe.
And if you need help, don't hesitate to ask for it.
That's right. Whether it's from a friend, family member, coworker, or the authorities.
There are people who care about you and want to help.
And there are resources available to help keep you safe.
So don't be afraid to use them.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into these first day on the job horror stories, we want to leave you with a sense of empowerment, not fear.
Yeah, these stories are definitely cautionary tales. But they're also reminders that we have the power to make choices that prioritize our safety and well-being.
And to create a safer and more aware world for everyone.
So stay curious, stay aware.
And most importantly, stay safe out there.